Welcome to Forest County, Pennsylvania and the Forest County Outback Channel, where we combine history with the outdoors. Today we're going to explore the Posie Fields. Now if you're new to the channel, welcome. Glad you found us. Don't click off too soon. Watch some of the video. You might decide you like our content. If you're a regular viewer, glad to have you back. And there's 4 things that you can do to help out with the algorithm gods. You can subscribe if you haven't already. You can give us a like, a share, and a comment. All this stuff helps the channel get out there, be promoted, and grow. And you can also contact me directly via email, terry@forestcountyoutback.com. No caps, no spaces. The Posie Fields is a flat, heavily wooded area between Town Line Road and the Church Hill Road. And today we're going to talk about some new discoveries here. Ghost stories, silver mines, Bigfoot, and I'm going to simplify your Christmas shopping. So this is Forest County Outback number 49, Posie Fields Mysteries. Now these are the remains of the Wingard farm, and we were actually out here once before in one of the earlier videos. Now I don't know much about this other than the name, and we know that it was abandoned by the 1930s. The house and barn was gone by then, and the fields were starting to grow over. Other than that, I really don't have any information on this, unless I do a lot of deep research. Now, the other thing we know is this used to be a really good spring at one time. Doesn't look like so much now. One thing we can tell you, this was a prime house location because they had a good spring here, and they had some natural refrigeration in the basement. So let's talk Christmas shopping. So we have some items we're going to sell, and we're not quite ready yet. We have to have a separate website from the merch shelf, which we have on down below. This when we get the website up and running, we'll put a link in there, and I'll let you know. But we're not quite there. We're almost there yet. But since I'm selling these directly, I have to have a separate website. Number 1 is the Forest County Outback 2025 calendar. And this is, these are all original photos that I've taken. They're all great photos, no mediocre ones in the bunch. They're all really great. And what we've also done is, in the date part here, we've inserted little tidbits of Forest County history in there. So this is I don't know if I mentioned, I don't have the final prices yet. I got to figure out the shipping. Also, this panoramic view, which you may have seen in Cougar Bob's, it's of Kellettville in 1906 when the town was at its height. And this is, I think, 42 inches by about 18, and we have one version that's laminated, and it's yeah, it looks really good and nice and crisp. And we're also gonna sell a cheaper paper version, and this is actually on nice heavy photographic paper. So these are done by Best Printing in Oil City, and I highly recommend them. They're great people to do business with. They're a family business and they're local. So let's get back to exploring the Posie Fields. Now, we have lived on the edge of the Posie Fields since 1987, so that's 37, almost 38 years now. And we thought we knew this area pretty good. We hiked back here a lot when we had horses. We rode back here all the time. And I've hunted here just, I think, every year since we moved over here to the farm. So one day this spring I was walking down this road here, and there's a trail off to this side, and it looks like an old lease road. And I thought, you know what, I've never been down there before, so I'm going to take a hike down here and see what it is. And there is a newer well down here. So what I didn't realize at the time is that is part of an older road which comes up through here. It goes down over that hill. I don't know how far. I've never followed it all the way to the end, but it is pretty well defined. And it looked like back in the day it had some pretty heavy use. Now, as I'm walking back here, this is one of the first things I noticed. There's this excavation here, and initially I thought they might have dug it out to build up this road. But the more I looked at it, the less and less that looked like the case. And as we come back into here, you see this jumble of stones. And then there's another pit, and this is pretty well defined over here. So there were some buildings in here. Actually, quite a number of buildings. So yeah, now this is private property. This is Collins Pine property. So I'm not going to do any digging on it. You never dig without permission. But there's some other pits here, kind of look like they may have been outhouses. And I did do some metal detecting around here. I didn't dig anything up, but I did kind of scrape the leaf litter off, and I found some nails and some wood and some rusty pieces of metal. And more importantly, in this one over here, I found this. It's a piece of coal. Now, as we come down the lane, just a few yards from there, we find another cellar hole, or what appears to be one. And as I said, I found nails around here, pieces of rusty metal, and this one here, there's it looks back here, it looks like there may have been an outhouse. Back here, So far we are looking at 1, 2, 3 buildings, and fairly substantial ones at that. So there's a cellar holes there. It's a cluster of 3 buildings. And one thing I noticed here on this one, see that right there? That's not a tree stump. That is a post. Okay, and it's very old and it's very delicate, and it's probably going to fall over on its own pretty soon. But that is not a tree, that is a post. So if there's any doubt that this was a building, I think that would probably eliminate that. Now we're going to go down here about 100 yards or so, and we're going to take a look at some more. Okay, as we come down the road, you can see there's a cellar hole over here. So far they've all been on the left side. But over here it looks like there was another small building on the right side. So as I said, this road is a continuation of a much older road. Well, let's look at this big one over here. Now this looks like it was an L-shaped building. And I found quite a few nails around this one. And by the way, they are wire nails, round ones. A lot of people think all old structures were built with square nails. That's not true. Wire nails started to become widely used in the 1870s, and by the early 1900s had essentially replaced square nails in construction, as they were now cheap and easy to mass produce. And then we've got another little depression back here. Like there was a second, like a smaller, maybe a storage building here. And this, I'm not sure about these. I don't know. They may have been moved to off the trail here, because there is a old trail that goes through here. Now one more building to look at. So we come to the last building. This is actually pretty shallow. During most of the year it's dry, but we had I don't know, about 3/4 of an inch of rain last night, and there's a spring that comes up over here around this rock. You see how nice and square this is? And this was a very large building. So what were these buildings used for? That's the question. Short answer, I don't know. I can't find any record of anything back in here, but we can kind of sort of narrow it down. A lot of times if you don't know what something is, you think about what it's not. Now this doesn't, to me, have the feel of a farmstead. It just doesn't seem to have that layout. And around a farm, when you look at the LiDAR, if there were crop fields there that haven't been overly disturbed, you can see the old field boundaries, you can see the plow marks. When we look at the LiDAR for this, they're not there. So it could have been a stock farm, it could have been pasture, which I kind of think that's what it was, and I'll tell you why in a minute. The other thing it could have been, it could have had something to do with some oil drilling, but I doubt that. The early oil, you just, other than an iron pipe sticking out of the ground somewhere, early oil, you just don't find things unless you find some bottles or something in the stream. But as far as remains of structures, that's very rare. The other possibility is the Hickory Creek Railroad is just over the hill that way, and it could have been something to do with that. Could have been a construction camp, although I doubt it. We're close enough to Endeavor that they would have rode out, the construction crew would have rode out on the work train in the morning. I doubt that they would have built a camp for them here. So that leaves us with a logging camp. And when I say they probably had livestock here, a logging camp would have draft animals. And by the process of elimination, I kind of think that's what this was. Now, if you look on the photograph here, this aerial photograph was taken in 1939. That's about the earliest that you can find aerial photos of this area. You'll see there's two little clearings, one corresponding with this building here, and one with the other one across the road. So the rest of it is heavily forested. So I think the camp's probably they logged the virgin forest here probably around 1900. So that's probably the time frame we're looking at for this. And you know, then after that, it was left alone and started to revert to second growth forest. So that's what I think was going on here. Now, I mean, you'd have to come in here and do a real archaeological dig and see if you can find remnants that are specific to certain activities, you know, if specific, like old tools or whatever, they're specific to logging or specific to railroad construction or the oil industry. But I think this was a logging camp. At least that's my opinion. If anybody has any other thoughts on it, let me know. All right. Now we're going to talk ghost stories, because I have been assured several times that the Posie Fields are haunted. Now this is the grade of the old Hickory Valley Railroad. And this is, we're standing on the part of the grade that comes over the hill from Beaver Valley across the mountaintop, and it comes down into this switchback. There's a spur that goes out that way for the switchback, and then this over here is the leg that goes down into Ross Run. Now in the early 1900s, I'm not sure the date, I should have looked it up before I came out, and I can't remember the man's name, but a train was coming into this switchback and down this leg. And anyhow, the brakeman fell off the car, fell between the cars, and this and was run over and died. And this was not really an uncommon occurrence. Railroading at that time was terribly dangerous. And anyhow, the man died somewhere along this stretch. And that is one element of the ghost story. Now we're going to go to a different part of the grade, and I'm going to tell you the second and third elements of that ghost story. So this is also the grade of the Hickory Valley Railroad. This is the section that goes down Camp Run and into Beaver Valley and eventually on down to Endeavor. So this is the second and third element of the ghost story. And this was related to me several years ago by somebody, and I, you know, I'm not mocking them. Okay, they were very sincere in their belief. They were back here at night, riding around, probably, drinking a cold one or 7 or 8, spotting deer, spotlighting deer, probably poaching deer. I mean, this is Forest County. Those three activities tend to go hand in hand. When they heard a steam train down the hill here, and it was that rhythmic, choo, 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 choo kind of thing. And then they heard the whistle. Now, I'm sure they heard this sound. They didn't see the headlight, though. But, so, because of that, they were convinced that this railroad is haunted. Well, not really, because about 1.5 miles in it's over in that direction. Anyhow, the local oil and gas producer has a stripper plant, and they get raw gas from the natural gas from the wells in there, and they run it through this plant to remove impurities. And they don't run it all the time. Quite often they do run it at night. And it does make that rhythmic sound, that, choo, 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 sound. Okay, and as far as the steam whistle, well, 6 miles down this valley is the Endeavor Lumber Company, which is now closed, but they operated dry kilns down there, and those operated off steam. They had a boiler, and they had a whistle, which they used to blow at shift change. So, yeah, there was your train. You hate to burst your bubble. I mean, it'd be kind of cool if it was true, but no, there was a reasonable explanation for it all, and I'm sorry. Hey everybody, I had to come back to the house here to wrap this up. The camera started acting up in the field. I had to come back and do some adjustments. Anyhow, 2 more stories about the Posie Fields I want to address. One is the Indian silver mine, and I think I may have touched on this in a previous video, one of the early ones, I'm not sure. But anyhow, the silver mine is supposed to be out there in the Posie Fields somewhere. I haven't found it. There's also was a sand pit out there. I haven't found that either. But the thing is, there is not a locality in the United States and Canada that does not have a story about the Indian silver mine, and they're all depressingly similar. Natives show it to a white guy, then they realize they have to kill him to keep it quiet. He finds it by accident, they have to kill him to keep him quiet. Or he's not a very good woodsman, he finds it, can never find it again. We do not have the geology in this part of the country for silver deposits. And we have some trace deposits, but that's it. Now, one of the arguments used was that several years ago up near Warren, some native graves were excavated and they had silver jewelry, and people said, oh, that's proof of silver mine. No, that's proof of trading networks. Before the real estate developers from Europe began arriving in the 1600s, Native Americans had extensive trading networks from coast to coast, from South America all the way up to Canada. And that's what that is evidence of. We simply do not have the right geology for silver deposits here. Now, you could also ask some hypothetical questions, right? I love hypotheticals. So let's just say hypothetically, there is a silver mine. Okay, hypothetically. And let's just say hypothetically speaking, I know where it's at. So the question comes up, in what hypothetical universe am I going to tell you? I mean, really. The other story is Bigfoot, or I prefer to call him Sasquatch. It's a much cooler name. I think most people just say Bigfoot because it's easier to spell. They're supposed to live out there in the Posie Fields. I've been stomping around out there for 35 years. I have not seen one or seen a sign of one. Okay, so I think three possibilities. Either they don't exist, or they do exist but they don't live here. The other possibility is they do exist and do live here, but they're very antisocial and probably bury their poop. So that wraps up Forest County Outback number 49, Posie Fields Mysteries. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. And remember, you can contact me directly, Terry at forestcountyoutback.com. No caps, no spaces. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Off too soon. Watch some of the video. You might decide you like what we put. Cut. We're going to talk about some new discovery. Oh, crap. Cut. Cut. Okay, so let's. Oh, sorry. Cut. All right, let's start. Cut. All this stuff on my merch shelf because this is. I'm selling it personally, directly, and this is all screwed up. Cut. Hey, let's talk Christmas shopping. We have some items we're going to sell, and I'll tell you what, you can just take that Lily and Vernon cashalog. Cashalog. I just invented a new word. It's cashalog. Cut.